What's up, everybody? This is John Bap 426, and I'm giving a little, I'm going to call it an editorial, even though it's not printed, but a little opinion, and it's not a podcast, 'cause it's not going to go that long, because I don't like to talk too much on these. But I want to talk about a flaw in Revenge of the Sith. Now, we know Star Wars, they're not perfect movies. They'll never be as clean and polished or a spit shine as Star Trek is, particularly The Wrath of Khan or The Undiscovered Country, which are very well-made science fiction movies. Star Wars is science fantasy. But, we've maligned the prequels, we've maligned the sequel trilogies, the sequel trilogy especially. But I want to point out something that is inconsistent. And I think that's where we should definitely start. We shouldn't just say, oh, I hate the story, I hate what the blah, 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 blah. What we have to do is we have to be consistent with the story, and then we have to point out why something doesn't work because it's not consistent with the development of the character or the story. And the much maligned no that Darth Vader gives when he learns that he's probably responsible for Padme, dying, is not consistent with his character. Now, we have to look at the way that Anakin Skywalker throughout the trilogy, episode 1, 2, and 3, how did he react when he suffered loss? Did he ever cry like that? And I don't mean tears, but this no, that's a cry of desperation. He never did that. So we have to look at things. It's like what transpired and what was his reaction. So he's having dreams in Attack of the Clones. We don't see the dreams. We see evidence of him having similar dreams in Revenge of the Sith. But in Attack of the Clones, he just says, "I don't sleep much." And Obi-Wan says, "Because of your mother." And he just nods. And, Obi-Wan says, "Well, dreams pass in time." But obviously those were premonitions. And so Anakin, again, I believe he was in Naboo with guarding Padme. And he was out on the veranda, I believe it was, with his arms, classic Vader pose, his arms behind his back, looking out, over the landscape. And he said he wasn't able to sleep. And he's saying, "I got to go to Tatooine for my mom." He says, "These dreams are just haunting me." And she says, "Well, I'm coming with you, So he finds where his mother was formerly enslaved under Watto, the Toydarian. And Watto says, "Well, guess what? Good things happened." He said she got sold to somebody else and he freed her and married her, the Lars homestead. So he goes to Lars and he goes, "Bad news, son." He's like, "Your mother is basically dead." That's basically what he's saying. Your mother is basically dead. She says she's been gone for a whole month and she was kidnapped by the Tusken Raiders. She's done. He says they're not even human, really. So he said, "I'm going to go find my mother." When Owen says, "Where are you going?" He says, "To find my mother." Like, "Well, are you crazy? I came all this way." So he goes, he talks to Jawas along the way. He just goes, who knows how far away from the Lars homestead he went in search of his mother. But he talked to Jawas and all this other stuff. And he finds the Tusken Raider camp, the specific Tusken Raider camp that had taken Shmi. So he gets there. Shmi is strung up and possibly sexually assaulted, based on the pentagram that she was tied to and the position that she was in, because she's facing, away from, her back is facing them. So, that's kind of suggestive right there. And so Anakin comes in, he frees her. They had this little reunion, and I think her name was Pernilla August, the actress that plays Shmi. She has this beautiful death scene. I mean, it's not beautiful that she died, but it's a terrific death scene. And Anakin does not go, "No!" He drops his head, feels the loss, picks his head up, and the dark side takes over. He slaughters not just the men, but the women and the children too, and probably those dog-like creatures that they had guarding the place too. He slaughters everything. He slaughters when he's desperate, when he's upset, when he's angry. And Anakin Skywalker is, in Revenge of the Sith, he betrays Mace Windu when Mace Windu goes to arrest Chancellor Palpatine. Because prior to leaving, Mace Windu said, "If what you've told me is true, you will have gained my trust." Now, Anakin and Mace Windu had a contentious relationship. You know what I mean? It wasn't a confrontational contention, but there's just contention between them. Even earlier in the movie, Mace Windu was like, "You know what? I don't trust him." And in the Phantom Menace, when he's a child being brought before him, he's giving him looks like, this kid is something else. And especially is kind of exacerbated in Revenge of the Sith when Anakin informs him, well, the Chancellor wants me to be appointed as a master. He said, we'll make the decisions here, not the Chancellor. So he says, if what you've told me is true, you will have gained my trust. So they bond. The rift between them is basically cleared away. And then Anakin betrays Mace Windu, cuts his hand off when he's about to put the kibosh on Palpatine. And then, Palpatine seizes the advantage and electrocutes him and pushes him out the window. Now, we don't know if that killed him, but Anakin, of course, and Palpatine assumed that Mace Windu died. I believe in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series that's coming to Disney Plus, we will get either the confirmation of his death or we will find out his ultimate fate in that series. That's just what I believe. And so Anakin says, what have I done? Because he's doing all these things for Padme, but he knows it's wrong now. Because I believe he sat down on a stool after he did that when he said, what have I done? Because he knows this is wrong that I'm doing. Even though he's saying I'm doing all this for her, he says that later. He says, I'm doing all this. He said, love won't save you. Only my new powers will. But he's lying because he knows what he's doing is wrong. So he pledges himself to the Emperor, even when Anakin is sent to destroy the Separatists. After he wipes them out, kills Wat Tambor, he kills Poggle the Lesser, he kills Newt Gunray. He's looking out over the plain on Mustafar with the lava flows, and he sheds a tear. He sheds a tear because he knows what he's doing is wrong. He knows it's wrong. Even as a Sith, he knows this. Even after his eyes have changed colors, there's still this vestige of the hero Anakin Skywalker. Even though, he was christened Darth Vader by Chancellor Palpatine after they survive, Mace Windu's encounter. So, and when his back is against the wall, when he feels like he's betrayed, because, when Padme accidentally, she didn't know Obi-Wan Kenobi was even on the ship. When Obi-Wan stands at the ramp and Anakin looks up and he sneers, and he looks at her, he says, liar! But he's the real liar. He said, I'm doing all this for you, and, he was doing it for her, but he knew it was wrong. And so then he says, you're with him. He said, you brought him here to kill me. And he uses the Force on Padme, the person that he threw all of his Jedi Order tenure away for. He turns the Force, the dark side of the Force, on Padme, the object of his affection, the object of his desperation, of everything. And it's only that Obi-Wan Kenobi said something that maybe Padme survived. He's like, let her go, Anakin. Let her go. And he doesn't call him Darth Vader. He says Anakin. And so Anakin lets go, because this is still the fumes of Anakin Skywalker. He's not fully Darth Vader yet, even though he's done terrible things. And then he puts the blame on Obi-Wan. He goes, you turned her against me. In other words, you made me do it. Same thing Darth Vader said to Luke, don't make me destroy you. It's like, Vader, you're going to do it because you're evil. It's not because of Luke. So he says, you turned her against me. And Obi-Wan looks down at her and he's befuddled. He's like, you've done that yourself. Because Anakin is trying to, he's a narcissist. He's trying to make the ideal galaxy for him. He even tells Padme, he says, you know what? He says, I'm more powerful than Chancellor. I can overthrow him. She looks at him like, who are you? So he has this in mind that I'm going to make the galaxy the way that I want it to be. He said, I'm tired of the sneaking around. He said, I don't care if they know I'm married. He says, I'm going to make the universe the way I want it to be. And so I said all that to say this. When he loses the battle with Obi-Wan and he's left for dead and he's rescued by Chancellor Palpatine and he's installed into the Iron Lung, into the suit, when he's raised up on that platform, and the Emperor, by then, he was no longer a Chancellor, he was the Emperor, he says, Lord Vader, can you hear me? He goes, yes, Master. And immediately says, where's Padme? Which makes sense. Now, a lot of people said, man, what was he asking about Padme looking as cool as he was? Him being installed into the suit and becoming a cyborg was not an upgrade. It was a downgrade power-wise. Anakin Skywalker, well, the former Anakin Skywalker was not better off in the suit. He looked cooler, but it was not an upgrade or an improvement. So, of course, it made sense for him to ask where Padme was. But the thing that was not characteristic, based on how he responded to his mother dying, based on how he responded to Padme for bringing Obi-Wan there, For him to go no and to crush all the droids and the Emperor to be unscathed was inconsistent with the development of the character. Sorry to say it, but that should not have happened. Vader should have immediately gone after the Emperor. Maybe they would have had a little back and forth. The Emperor maybe would have subdued him with lightning. But there is no way on earth the Emperor should have been smiling. And he would have been untouched. So those are just my thoughts. And I'll probably give maybe a few more of these sort of opinion pieces or editorials maybe later on about other parts of different trilogies. I especially want to focus on the George Lucas trilogies because, we kind of malign the Disney trilogies, but it's like, let's be a little objective. Let's talk about what was wrong. Because like I said, these aren't perfect movies. Let's talk about what was wrong with A New Hope. Let's talk about what was wrong with Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, and Revenge of the Sith. All right, so this was John Bat 426, and I hope you enjoyed this. And I hope this was thought-provoking as well. Peace.